The public sphere is also an important arena for language revival, though some communities may prefer to go it alone and keep the language to themselves. Even so, they may be dependent on resources from outside the community. Increasingly, there are opportunities throughout Australia, for example, for the use of Indigenous languages at large and high-profile public events through the use of the local Indigenous language in a welcome to country or acknowledgement of country. Events have included the Sydney 2000 Olympic Games, the opening ceremony of the Australian National Parliament, where the Lang101x language was used for the first time in 2008, the Adelaide Festival of Arts since 1998, and WOM Adelaide, World Music Adelaide, for some years now. Many of these welcomes include song and dance performances, which often includes the use of Aboriginal languages. As is well known, the haka welcome performance by Maori in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and similar welcome performances in Hawaii have an important place in these societies and are an important component of language revitalization. Learning how to perform the haka or to give a welcome to country speech is often the first engagement that an individual might have with a revived language. Recognition of Indigenous place names is another means of bringing the language back into consciousness of the public at large. We are seeing many Indigenous place names being reinstated and recognised through dual naming legislation in many parts of Australia, including Sydney, Melbourne, the Flinders Ranges of South Australia, and the Grampians in Victoria. As we saw in week 4, many other entities are gaining Indigenous names, providing increased opportunities for the use of revived languages in public signage, changing the linguistic landscape, the langscape of the environment. Any alert traveller to New Zealand cannot help but notice the use of Te Reo Māori in signage. If you visit the University of Waikato in Hamilton, all the signage, bookshop, library, etc. is in Māori as well as in English, even down to mundane signage such as parking. Every government department in New Zealand has a Māori name used alongside its English title. For example, Te Ratonga Tirorangi Meteorological Service of New Zealand Limited. The Māori language movement has done well in establishing the exquisite Māori TV, where my friend Scotty Morrison works. Māori TV broadcasts every day from 6:30 a.m. till 11:30 p.m. on a typical weeknight in the Māori language. Programs range from popular sports coverage, news, cultural performance, to soapies, fitness, cooking and gardening shows. Most importantly, there are shows as pūkoro directed towards children. Māori TV is a tool for propagating the Māori language, and many of the shows can be viewed online on demand. Māori TV and radio are funded by the New Zealand government through the terms of the Treaty of Waitangi from 6 February 1840. Whilst Australia has a national Indigenous television NITV channel with some excellent content, the amount of material broadcast in Australian Indigenous languages is disappointing. Although there is a children's television program, Wabini Time, which is broadcast on NITV in Noongar, the language of southwest Western Australia that is undergoing revitalisation. It seems as though there are more and more Māori language programs broadcast in Australia, and some in Indigenous languages from Canada, etc., more than there are in Australia's own languages. This is an avenue to be explored further and to be expanded in the future.
The film Dances with Wolves was the medium for a significant language revival effort for the Lakota Sioux language, where actors were coached by Doris Leader Charge. Film is an important medium through which to introduce revival languages to the public at large and to cultivate their use within the community. Song and dance performance is a strong element of many language revival movements. This element is particularly strong in the revival of Maori, through the performance of the haka and waiata, and also in the revival of Hawaiian. It also seems to be an especially strong element in the revival of the indigenous languages of Taiwan. In the Isle of Man, the revival of traditional Manx songs goes hand in hand with the revival of the Manx language. Some years ago, a Bundjalung version, Ngundalela Godotkai, of Samuel Beckett's famous play Waiting for Godot, was produced. Bundjalung is an Aboriginal language from the far north coast of New South Wales and is best characterised as a case of language revitalisation. The Bundjalung version was performed by the Bangarab National Indigenous Dance Troupe at the 1997 Festival of the Dreaming in Sydney. Cultural tourism is another important avenue for revival languages. Small bilingual pocket guides have been produced in Manx and English, Manx and German, Ihr Taschenführer für Manx, and Manx and French for visitors to the Isle of Man. Tourism provides an avenue for nightly performance of the haka and the singing of Maori songs in New Zealand, and similarly in Hawaii. Cultural tourism is beginning to develop in various parts of Australia, providing another opportunity for the use of long-forgotten languages. Funding is another important consideration. In Australia, a certain amount of funding is allocated by the federal government for the support of Indigenous languages, most of which are being revived. Government funds are also allocated to the support of Maori language education and the production of Maori language radio and television. The government in Taipei also funds those Indigenous languages of Taiwan that are officially recognised by virtue of the fact that they have some fluent native speakers. However, government funding is less readily forthcoming in the United States, where philanthropy is more important. By thinking about the possibilities for use of the language in the public domain and building partnerships with sympathetic agencies, much can be done to raise awareness of and familiarity with revival languages. This serves to increase their vitality. Of course, in Israel, Israeli is used in all aspects of public life, as it's the language of government, the legal system, of law enforcement, education, commerce, etc. Catalan in Spain and French in Quebec have similar status. But for most revival languages, they exist on the margins. A major task for language revival is to make these languages more central in public life.